as two black men living in the UK with everything that's going on in terms of like racial equality, I think it's probably appropriate that we talk about the movement that's happening right now globally. Actually, like, I mean, obviously it stemmed from what happened in the US, but now it's kind of like a far-reaching movement that's happening in like all crazy corners of the world. And I don't think we have to delve too deep into the specific like situations and scenarios that have happened that have led to this. I think like those have been covered like to death everywhere. And I think what I wanted to talk about is to talk about in a more general sense about race in the UK and about how you've experienced race. Because I feel like a lot of what's happening now is the narrative is getting dominated by people obviously saying that race is a heavy issue that's affecting millions of black people. And we've seen it a lot in the UK as well. Like I said, like, obviously it happened in the US, but I feel like a lot of people are adopting that now in the UK.
Yeah, we're being forced to talk about it a lot more recently,
And I think, obviously I can't speak for other people's experiences with racism. Obviously racism is something that's like personal to people. I feel like something that you might find racist, I might not find racist, and obviously vice versa. But obviously with the discussions that are happening now, I think I've definitely felt like I've been a bit stifled in what I can talk about, because maybe I have a different perspective of what race means to me, and it may be different to how someone else feels, and they're offended by what I'm saying and how I'm feeling about it. But I think to be able to have these conversations, the only way we can have them is if we're all honest.
That's the thing. We need to be able to have more open, honest discussions and conversation in general. Obviously, it's harder to do with strangers and people you don't know. And social media exacerbates that problem because people have their own bubbles where they all share the same thought, and anyone that thinks differently gets sort of attacked.
Exactly. And the reason why I wanted to start this podcast as well is I wanted it to be a place where you can talk about things openly without kind of like judgment. And I think if we're not able to talk about race and how it's affected us without being like labeled as, I don't know, something, then that's a problem. Like, how can we not talk about our own experiences like genuinely and openly? And I know, like, I mean, we spoke about this briefly yesterday. I think for the most part we actually may have like similar kind of outlooks in it, but I think there are also like a few differences as well, which maybe I want to talk about. So just in general, kind of like, because obviously when this whole movement started happening, I felt a bit distanced from it, just because for my own experiences of racism in the UK, and like obviously I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist in the UK, we all know it does, but for me personally, I haven't felt the wrath of racism probably as much as other people have felt it in the UK or around the world. I feel like I've been very privileged. And something I always talk about when I'm talking about race as well is that where I live, especially like in the last couple of decades, really, there's been like a huge like influx of like black people where I live. So now it kind of feels like I'm in the majority. So it's kind of weird. Like when I go back to my primary school, like it's literally just like full of black kids.
Yeah, the same. There's different areas, isn't there? Like my area, for example, I live in Croydon, and there's a lot of heavily like black and Asian community. Like there was a mixture. Of course, there's white people there as well, but it's very sort of diverse community. And we both grew up in London, so our surroundings, where we go to school, what we see, who we talk to, it was never just like, oh, I only associate with black people. My whole life has been a mixture. I've always been able to make friends of different backgrounds, cultures, races, and I never really looked at it as something that was a dividing factor until maybe I don't think it's a dividing factor now, but I started noticing race maybe around like mid-teens, so like 14, 15, when you start to go out and go to different places and you just maybe experience a different treatment or realize that you have to act in a way that is outside of your comfort to be treated on an equal basis. So one example I have is just like dressing, the way you dress. Like I'm comfortable, I wear hoodie, shorts or just joggers or whatever, but I know that in certain environments that people may see that as a maybe something threatening if you're in a group of people. So,
absolutely.
I don't know, like, that's a kind of, for me, I wouldn't say that is racism in itself. That is just like discrimination is risk assessment. So I always make the joke that, okay, if I'm walking down the street late at night and I see a group of people chilling on the corner wearing hoodies, I'm crossing the road as well. I'm crossing the road as well. That's a risk assessment. I don't necessarily think these people are going to stab me, but I'm not going to just like take the chance in that situation where I've seen, obviously I grew up in South London, I've seen like things happen as such, and I'm like, okay, this is not a smart decision. Or I was with my cousin going out to eat one time, we're waiting at the station and something looks like it's about to happen, we're getting out of there. Just avoid these things in the first place. But
and I think that's just like, if I saw a group of people, no matter what their race is, and they're wearing hoodies and stuff, like I'm just at night time, don't put it across the road. Like,
and it's very, there's so many factors. It kind of depends on areas. Like if I'm walking near, like I don't know, like Millwall FC, and I see a group of like skinheads, I'm not gonna. It's just basic risk assessment.
No, definitely. So what? So you spoke about. So can you think of any blatant times where someone's been like overtly racist to you living in the UK? Like, can you remember anything that's happened?
I think I've faced discrimination. I'm not sure if someone has like, I've never been like racially abused, like verbally or physically, or I've never been manhandled by the police. I've had, speaking to my mum about this like a few weeks ago actually, I've had very few interactions with the police. So my only experiences are based on sort of third party, what I've heard from other people, what I've seen in film, what I've seen happen in America, other people's experiences being pulled over driving here. I don't know. I can't speak on that because I don't know. The only small interactions I've had with police have been just neutral. It's not been bad, it's not been good. It's just been, okay, this is information or whatever. It's not been like, I've never even been stopped and searched. I'm not saying that mean my experience of it means that invalidates other people's negative experiences, but I just don't know, and I don't feel that I could necessarily speak on saying, oh, all people are this, or all you know.
I mean, it's funny you talk about stop and search, because like, I've been stopped and searched, but only once in my life, and it happened like, it was 10 years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, haven't I told you the story?
No, I never heard of it.
Oh well, it's like, so basically when I was at school, and at this point I had like no interactions with the police apart from one time when I was like mad young. I like accidentally called, it wasn't an accident actually. I just called 999 on the phone, and in the police call,
what would happen? I actually got through to the police.
And then but the thing is, like, the phone was hung up, and I dialed 999. I didn't think it would work, but then the police called back, and they were like, "Oh, did someone call 999 from this number?" And then my dad had like covered for me. I was like, "Okay, cool, Dad." So I remember that.
Arrested, to get backed up, man.
So I remember that happening. But no, like 10 years ago, I used to have a job. So I used to have a job at a gym. It wasn't actually in the gym, but it was like leafleting. So like just going to door and just like posting leaflets through people's doors. So what we used to do is like, I used to meet up with my friends, then we used to like, walk to the gym and like get the leaflets and like start handing them out. So like obviously it was me and two of my other friends, like we're all black. And I think my two friends at this point were like more privy to like police than I was, like, because obviously I had never really interacted with them before, but like they were a bit more woke in that sense than I was. So what happened was, we were just walking down the street, and then I'm pretty sure this doesn't matter, but it may matter to some people. I don't think it matters, but it was like two female police officers came up to us, and they give you like the same line, like, "Oh, there was like a burglary in the area, you match the description."
So what's doing me? What description?
So I'm ready now. So obviously, like at that point, I'm like, "Oh, well, there's just been a burglary in the area. Like they just want to check our bags and make sure we're not, doing like we weren't burgling people's like houses. So like I'm just seeing it as a completely like innocent interaction. So like I happily like give them my bag. They was like never give my bag, and they're like okay cool. As they drove off, I like literally waved to them. My friends like don't wave to them. No. So like I was a bit confused as to like why they were so angry, and I was like what was the problem? They just wanted to stop us and make sure that we weren't being criminals. And they were like no, like it's because we're black. That's why they stopped us. And obviously like we can't prove that it was racially motivated. But looking back on it, I can say to myself that it may have been racially motivated. Like obviously I can't just, significantly say it was, but I can say I can see like it may have been.
The problem probably lies in that the description's too loose. It's like okay, it was a young black male wearing Nike trainers. That's like 95% of black people in London. So how people feel hard done by the fact that this is happening all too frequently to them. They're getting pulled over all the time because they match the description, and it's just like it's sort of like an unfair treatment in some way. So I do understand it from that perspective. On an isolated incident level, if they're saying, oh yeah, you match the description, we just want to make sure. I don't have a problem with that, but it's just the repeated. You feel like you are made to feel like you've done something, or you haven't. Like my friend walking home from school, and he's being stopped and searched by the police, and he had the same experience. The first time they were very detailed. They explained why they were doing it and stuff. And then another time it happened, and they weren't so friendly. They weren't so. There was quite a sort of like hostility, and then sort of like the feeling of guilty before. They just treat you as if you're guilty, basically. So it can cause leave a sour taste in people's mouth and create that sort of disdain between black communities and the policing. Yeah,
but I just think now like it's becoming increasingly hard for police to have those interactions with black people. I feel like if a police officer stops a black person, then I feel like, especially now, people are gonna like automatically go to, is this because I'm black? Is this racially motivated? And the sad truth is that it could be. But also there are obviously times where it's just not. Like maybe you do match the description, or maybe they are stopping you for like a genuine reason, and it's like that's the same, because it's hard to prove. You can't really like differentiate between the two.
Well, it's a lot. It can be area based as well. So, for example, if there's some crime happening in Chinatown, guess what? The person that's more likely to be stopped and interrogated is like a Chinese person, because they probably match the description of what's happening in that area.
Well, exactly.
I'm not saying that's like necessarily the right thing, but like it's sort of. I don't know. It's hard. It's not the right thing to antagonize people, and looking at the statistics of how many stop and searches lead to anything further is like you've antagonized like 80% of the people that haven't done anything, and you've got like a 20% success rate. This obviously needs to change. So the conversations need to be had around that for sure.
But I think and the thing about the whole stop and search thing, because obviously like the reason why police stop and search, especially nowadays, is because of knife crime. And like knife crime does disproportionately affect black people. They're the ones being stabbed. Well, no, in London.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those are the ones doing the stabbing and being stabbed. Which is why I wrote a blog post on this like a while back. But because I know that I'm not a criminal, I'm not doing anything wrong. If a police officer stops me, even if it is racial motive, it may not be, but it may be, and they want to stop and search me, I'm kind of like just happy to do it, just because like I know that there is a knife problem in London, and like if this. It's not the best way. Obviously, stop and searches isn't a perfect system. But if this is their way of like trying to crack down on knife crime, I know I'm not doing anything wrong. Obviously, if it's happening repeatedly, it does get frustrating. But I'm like, I'll deal with it, comply with the police, whatever, and then if they.
But I understand both points of view on that. So I understand you saying you're happy with it. I personally wouldn't. I wouldn't use the term happy. Like I would comply. I wouldn't.
I think that's what I mean. Comply.
But I would understand if someone that has repeatedly been stopped and
of course,
feels
exactly,
like hard done by, and the fact that they haven't done anything. It's just antagonized. It's not really the most effective system.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to have these conversations, man. Even now, I'm trying to think of like. How do I say this and that way? And it's not easy.
There's no easy answers, and I think like a lot of it is also just down to like location and where you live. Obviously, some areas in London are going to be like more. There's going to be more police around than other areas, and the thing is as well, like where I live, like it's not the best area. Like Dagenham is not it's not great. So I'm surprised I've only been actually stopped and search once.
It's got a dagger in the name.
Oh my taste.
Stop and search is a mad thing. I think that if you constantly just assume someone is guilty and some people, we need to look at the underlying causes. So okay, knife crime is an issue. What is causing this? People have issues that people are trying to take their life. I'm not justifying anything, but people feel it's all well and good telling someone, put it down, and then they go out the next day. They feel like that gives them some sort of defense and and I'm not saying it does, but that's how they may feel. And what's on the other side of the coin where I disagree with you saying, oh, you're happy to comply just because you know you haven't done anything wrong, is that can be like a slippery slope. So people also say, oh, I'm fine with excessive surveillance because I know I'm not doing anything wrong, so it's okay. But does that mean that gives the government the right to like see every little detail of your life, or just give away your personal information? It's like you should have some level of privacy and be treated with some level of dignity.
And I think if police are stopping and searching everyone, I think they should be giving people, the respect and dignity that they deserve, especially if like, you're complying, you ain't like you're just going about your daily business. But
it's the disproportionate. Sorry to cut you, but it's the disproportionate nature of things that I think most black people are. And again, I don't want to speak for. Actually, let me just say myself. I don't want to speak for anyone else. The disproportionate nature of these issues and how it affects black people. Like you look at incarceration, like the numbers for black people are quite high considering the percentage of the population we make up, both in the UK and in the US. And the rate of people that are stopped and searched or like pulled over on driving offences or shot and killed in the US, especially. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the UK, but the it's very disproportionate. So clearly there's other issues happening there, and some of that may be based on discrimination. We can't rule that out as a factor, but I don't think it's fair to say every interaction with the police towards a black person is racist. It's not exactly.
And I feel, I don't know, I think it's also very easy. That's like a very easy way out to say it's racist. I think that can lead to like neglecting other factors that could have played a part in whatever was happening. So obviously I'm not discounting the fact that it may be racially motivated, but I think you can't just say, okay, this is racist and that's the reason why this thing happened. I think there's like obviously a bunch of other contributing factors that need to be taken into account.
I think we were speaking about it earlier as well, is that I always say this to people, like if everyone just like looked after themselves and like the close people around them and took accountability for that, then normally like that could lead to better outcomes and conclusions. So the police need to take accountability and hold their officers to account when they breach their duties. So they're supposed to be there to protect and serve. If they're going out there shooting, killing people, they shouldn't be defended for that unless obviously it was a justified reason, like they had to do something to defend their life. And a lot of these circumstances where you see the videos, and that's the problem I have as well. It's too easy for me to be able to just log into my phone and see a video of someone being killed. Like I think that's indefensible and that needs to be spoken out upon. At the same token, there's a lot of stuff that maybe as a community we don't take accountability for. And I'm not saying, okay, I'm not a criminal, you're not a criminal. I shouldn't have to say, oh yeah, black people, some people stab each other, so we need to sort that out before. I think that's a false argument. Like you can't say, oh, we need to sort out I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. We need to sort out fatherless homes before we sort out incarceration. We can address two things at the same time without one being a cause and effect.
I mean, I think that's what probably like a lot of, I see on a lot like Twitter, like, oh, because of this one thing, like this other thing can't be true. Like both, like two things that may seem like opposites can, can be true at the same time.
It's finger pointing. It's like, oh, he started it, so let's do that. It goes on forever.
And I mean, like you can address the problems with the police and also the problems that happen in the black community at the same time. Like it doesn't have to be like you can say, oh, there are problems with the police, or you can believe the police are institutionally racist, but then you can also say, but in the black community, these are the problems that like need to be addressed. Like you can say both.
Because I really hate. I just want to go on record. I really hate the whole argument of black on black crime, because when I don't know, if there's like two like drug gangs beefing in like Liverpool, for example, or like they're all white, you're not calling it white on white crime. Like it's just like area based. If you both live in the same area, and the underlying root of the issues I think in the UK is due to the class based system. So people that have less are all confined into a smaller space, and that's what.
It's funny you bring on the black and black crime, because obviously as you're saying, like it's an argument that gets brought up a lot, but I think the reason why it gets brought up is because a lot of people are seeing people like protesting like police brutality against black people, and then they look at the stats, and then police killing black people is like lower than black people killing black people. And I agree with you that
but of
that
course
obviously
it would
is down
be,
to proximity. And it's kind of like how can you be saying, like, people argue like how can you be saying Black Lives Matter when black people are killing black people? And I think that's like the angle that they're coming from.
It should be the same outcry for when someone is killed in general and is just pointless and meaningless. Like we should not condone that in any sense whatsoever. I think a lot of the time, people do have that argument because they claim that drill glorifies like violence like in the communities, but we praise that, but then we condemn the other. So again, and that's one area where we can say we do need to take some accountability and say, hold on, like we got some shit happening here where there's like violence in our own communities, and we need to try and like we at least need to speak out on that. If we're speaking out on the other thing as well. So like
and it's like another thing, like I'm saying
that you can speak out on one and not the other. That's fine. But then like it's kind of, I can see why someone could be a hypocrite then.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why not speak out on both? You know, like you don't like. A lot of people feel like
one reason I could give is that, again, the police are there to protect themselves. If it's violence between two people in the community, they don't have a duty towards the other person to get. I'm not saying that means they should go and kill them, but it's like you should have not. The police should come into the situation and be able to de-escalate and be able to not resort to that. That's the last resort.
Well, I think
everyone can agree on that. Killing someone should be the last resort.
And I think this is a problem. Obviously we don't have this problem in the UK because obviously police don't carry guns. Obviously police brutality is the thing, but like we're not seeing people getting shot like every other month in the UK. But I think in the US that because gun culture is such like a huge thing in the US, I think people are a bit desensitized to people shooting other people. It's just like, oh well, he disobeyed the cops, so that's why he got shot. You know, and I don't think I don't think that should lead to someone getting shot. You know.
Exactly. There's not a death sentence. You know?
Exactly.
Death sentence.
Like, it's hard because obviously, like, the thing about it as well is the narrative coming out of, like, especially in America, is that black people are like afraid of the police. They're afraid of getting shot by the police. So my thing is, like, if I'm a black person in America, then if I'm being confronted by the police, I'm gonna do like everything I can to make sure that I don't give them an excuse to shoot me. You know?
And that's a really can I swear? But that's a really fucked up thing to have to think. Like, I shouldn't do anything to make someone.
No, exactly. It's like it's a backwards way of thinking about it.
But I understand it, and when people say, "Oh, they're afraid of the police," in America, especially, I understand. I'm as a black man in the UK, I'm not afraid of the police. I'm aware of like what can happen, but I'm not necessarily like, I don't shiver every time I see a police officer and think, oh, this can be an interaction where I can lose my life. But I'm aware of like some underlying discriminations and such, but it's not something that would make me fearful. And I think that I don't like when people speak on behalf of an entire race. I don't like when people say, oh, all black people are this. I personally, I'm against the victim mentality. Again, there's a class-based system where a lot of black people in the UK are in like that working class, and we don't necessarily have that footing that help up into like housing, into like certain levels of jobs, certain industries, and but again, that I'm not saying it's not impossible. Like, I work in a very good job, and I've worked hard, and I've studied, I've got there, but it's like I'll still go to the shop, and if I'm dressed in my hoodie, so the hair shop, for example, the guy's following me around, like not like behind my back, but it's if I've gone to the next aisle, he's on the other end of the next aisle, kind of looking to see what I'm doing. And I don't like it, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And I've walked out of like the shop. I've walked out of Tesco before in like Christchurch because the security guard was like following me. I'm like, I come here every day. Like, do you think I'm here to take to Apple? But at the same time, and that annoyed me because I was gonna say, if it's in my area in Croydon, I have a bit more leniency for it. I'm not saying it's right, but I know that, okay, if theft happens, it's likely to be someone from the community that does it. If I live in a community that's more like majority Black and Asian, guess what? Like, they're probably going to be watching Black and Asian people with a bit more scrutiny because they're the people that usually do it. I'm in Christchurch in Bournemouth. Like, I'm probably like one of like 10 Black people that lives there at the time, and then you're following me for what? Like, it does get under your skin, and I think it can be exhausting again, being able to having to see this footage and then speak on behalf. People ask you, "Oh, how do Black people?" I can't speak on behalf of my race. It can be exhausting and tiring. So, but I'm not a victim, basically.
Yeah. Because and the thing about it as well is another argument I've heard as well is like, because obviously when the George Floyd incident happened, the Black people were saying, "Oh, like that could be me." Like a police officer could be me, but some people are saying no, like I don't identify with George Floyd because I'm not committing criminal activity, so I don't see myself being in that position.
No, but I think that's a flawed. Okay, they're allowed to state their opinion, but my opinion on that, I think that's just a flawed response because we're not. By the time someone's got their knee on their neck, like taking your breaths away, you're taking your last breaths, it's not about the criminal activity anymore. If the criminal activity, apprehend them and just go through the due process. You don't need to do, like, that's brutality. That's completely immoral. It shouldn't happen. I think that, okay, yeah, people cannot, I think what, again, is just comes to the homogenous thing, trying to put all Black people in the same basket. They try to paint everyone as, everyone's like, it's like a struggle. Everyone makes it look like, oh, we're all from the hood, we're all trying to get by. Not everyone is struggling. Not everyone wants to be associated with struggle. Not everyone wants your sympathy. Like, I've seen it, and a lot of people have sort of reached out to me like, oh, I empathize, blah blah. I'm like, okay, like, I'm glad you're like supporting like the statement that Black Lives Matter, and that you're supporting like the sentiment of it. We should treat people with equality and respect. That should just be in general. Like, just treat everyone in society with equality and respect, regardless of color, regardless of ethnicity, race, whatever. Like, let's just aim for that, but don't make it like, oh, I need your support. I need your like assistance to get. But I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. You know?